The Electoral College votes have been cast, and the last step in determining the next president happens when Congress counts those votes on January 6th. At least one lawmaker already has plans to object. Representative Mo Brooks of Alabama says the election results in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Wisconsin were rife with fraud.
Every one of them that I am convinced has an election system that is so defective and unreliable as to make them unworthy of trust in this presidential election.
His claims echo those made in dozens of lawsuits across the country, lawsuits that have repeatedly been dismissed.
If there's so much evidence out there of all of this widespread voting fraud, why are there so many judges dismissing the cases for lack of evidence?
Because the judicial system is not geared to handle election contests. The Supreme Court and federal judges are not the final jury, the final judge, or for that matter, the final arbiter. The final arbiter is the United States Congress.
During the joint session in January, lawmakers can object to a state's electoral college votes. That objection must be issued in writing and signed by one member of the House and one senator. A senator has yet to publicly support Brooks. But if that happens, both chambers would separate and spend 2 hours debating the objection before voting on whether or not to accept that state's results. The last time that happened was in 2005, when Democratic Representative Stephanie Tubbs Jones and Senator Barbara Boxer objected to President George W. Bush's victory in Ohio, citing irregularities. 4 years ago, Democrats tried to object to President Trump's win, but without a proper written objection signed by a lawmaker from each chamber, then Vice President Joe Biden gavelled down all those attempts.
Objection cannot be received.
Proper objections to electoral votes are rare. Federal law says state results are deemed conclusive as long as the final slate of electors is determined at least 6 days before the Electoral College meets. Now, that safe harbor deadline, which key battleground states appear to have met this year, is designed to protect states from exactly what Brooks plans to do.
You could certainly see some of his supporters in Congress try to raise challenges. It is a question, they're not going to pass. They're not going to succeed in undoing the electoral vote.
But for Brooks, neither the congressional count nor the failure to prove widespread voter fraud will be enough to call Biden's victory legitimate.
Will you recognize Joe Biden as the president-elect after Congress votes on January 6th?
If Joe Biden gets a majority of the votes of the Electoral College as submitted to Congress and recognized by Congress, yes, he will be the president-elect who did so through massive voter fraud and election theft.
Stephanie Liebergen, Newsy, Miami.